One of the things I love about meditation is its potential to create a better world for you and everyone. If you were to take this practice up, or if more people in our society took this practice up. And as I've said before, meditation alone is not enough. Today I want to talk about meditation with triggers, softening, and self-compassion. So today I want to talk about the role of meditation, which is a kind of medication, in those three areas. And let's start with triggers. So I work as a couples coach, and one of the things I see the most in relationships causing the most harm is triggers, unresolved triggers. Where one person does something which triggers the other, they do something which triggers the other. So in emotionally focused couples therapy, working on that cycle is really key. The point being that triggers are powerful, and they're life and death. And the bigger context that I see right now in our whole world, with the stress and pressure of the COVID situation right now, and the expansion of populations and global wealth inequality and so many different issues, there's a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, right? We know from trauma research that when there's more stress, it's more likely that our triggers are going to be reactive, and they're easier to push, and they're harder to pull back when we're not resourced and calm and feeling good in ourselves, right? So globally, so it's not just a personal thing. It's not just your relationship with those you love or who you'd like to be with or be able to be with, but it's how we are with each other. It's how we trigger against or hurt each other in our personal relationships, bigger relationships, and kind of internationally. People, societies and countries are doing this against each other, right? And so to me, the resolution of the trigger is not just about your personal freedom to love and be loved in a way that you desire. If everyone involved is willing to do this work, you can have a better life for yourself, right? So triggers, mostly from my perspective, I'm trying to keep this short and simple. Triggers have a lot to do with survival, right? So it's something in us where our survival is being threatened, right? So maybe you're at work and there's a boss who's very picky about something, and someone on your team criticizes you in front of the boss about how you didn't do that thing that the boss is picky about. Well, even if you personally could, it doesn't really matter to you, that area of your life, it's not a high value for you, and normally it wouldn't matter. In this case, because it could be a survival thing, it could be the risk of your job, there's a good chance that your heart rate's going to go up, or you're going to freeze or go into one of the other nervous system states based on a trigger. And the trigger, again, the survival here would be your job, right? But most triggers in relationships go way back. They go back to our childhood. Those of you who want to know how powerful childhood influences are on us as human beings, I refer you to the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, ACEs study. Look that up. Triggers usually connected with survival, but also with our sense of self. So in a relationship, it's not going to look like a survival thing. It'll be your partner, your relationship partner or family member. It's just a small thing. It's a criticism like, well, you didn't get the right chips, or why are you 2 minutes late? And yet, if we have a sore spot around, for example, being loved, being lovable, being accepted, being enough, being worthy, if we have a sore spot around any of that, which many of us have, that's going to hit, our reaction is going to be out of proportion to that. Right? So we may then do something or behave in a way that creates an escalating cycle of negativity, which it's not the most wonderful life moment that you could create. And yet it's so difficult to not have this happen, because it's some of our deepest nervous system patterns that we're wired in, usually when we're really young, right? Unless it's some kind of trauma later in life. But so in terms of triggers, understanding for yourself that anytime that you're reacting apparently out of proportion to the moment, there's probably a sore spot or a trigger, a sore spot, and then when someone taps it or touches it, you have this out of proportion reaction. It could be a little bit out or a lot out, right? The problem with it is, in a way, when you do that, you're becoming the victim of a pattern that's not your choice. Unless you're explicitly choosing that and really want to overreact deliberately in that way for some reason, most of us are victims of these sore spots and they're not healed. The way to heal them is to get therapy, get some kind of professional coaching, or go on a journey of self-discovery, and actual experiential workshops are really, it's an experiential shift that has to happen to integrate triggers. So how does meditation relate to this? Meditation can be a fantastic ground, because when you're trying to see and notice what's happening in your body or what's happening with overreaction, it's very difficult because we're thinking about it, we're having emotional reactions, if we have a pattern of pushing that outwards to blame someone else, we do that so quickly we don't even realize it. Meditation allows you to slow all of that down. All right, so now there's this slowing effect through meditation. And in meditation, maybe we bring up a small example and examine it internally in our own being. Notice what happens in our body. Start to question and follow the feelings back or the thoughts back. The thoughts we have about that moment. The feelings we have. Why do we have such a big reaction to being told that we're 2 minutes late, or we didn't get the right bag of chips, or whatever it is, right? Is it really a life-threatening event? So you can question that for yourself, right? So the difficult thing about triggers, and why most people will never address their triggers, is they're usually unconscious and they're part of a way of being that we learned very young. So I think many forms of xenophobia, things like racism, disliking other countries, other races, other peoples, other genders, other styles, other, all of that. Part of it is we grew up in one particular system and we adopted unconsciously, without examining it, those prejudices, those patterns, those triggers, those ways of reacting. We learned ways of defending ourselves from when we were growing up that were very helpful to us, but maybe are not helpful anymore to us as adults. So I'm hoping this video will inspire you to take up the practice of meditation, which has many benefits, and within the context of using that meditation, actively at some point choose to do some work with a coach or therapist or someone else, could be group work, to look at what are your triggers, why are you reacting to those, how can you take back some of your own power and choice in the moment of trigger so that you are not contributing to a cycle of negativity in the world, which is, by the way, is not your fault. I'm not judging it, but what I am saying is there can be more choice, and that's what I wish for everyone, because I believe we'll have a better world. So thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed what I had to say.